Hello students, good morning. Today I am going to take the chapter from our supplementary reader, that is snapshots, and the very first lesson of the chapter, the name of the chapter is The Summer of a Beautiful White Horse. Children, as all of you know that most of you have your hobbies. Some have the hobby of photography, some have the hobby of book reading, gardening, some have the hobby of listening to the music or singing, some have the hobby of swimming. Here, when we go through the chapter, we find that the two boys, the character depicted in the lesson, that is Aram and Murad, they were very crazy of horse riding, and actually they are the two cousins. They belong to the Armenian tribe, and they were very poor, but they were famous for honesty and integrity. A horse was stolen by Murad for riding, and Murad invites Aram to have a horse riding. It was a early morning time at 4 o'clock, and because they had done a little bit wrong act, therefore Murad again and again in his mind, in his conscience, tries to make himself understand that he has not stolen the horse. He has only taken the horse for a pleasure ride, and after the pleasure ride they would return the horse to the owner. So, because this Garolanian tribe, that is the Armenian tribe, they were famous for honesty, they were famous for sincerity, being poor, because this is something very paradox. A person who is poor is always suspected of stealing, thinking that he lacks many things in his life and he may steal something. So here the story starts with the about the two Armenian boys, and that is Aram and Murad. They belong to the tribe which was famous for honesty and integrity. Murad stole a beautiful white horse for riding, and they didn't steal the horse for money but only for riding. But finally what happened, they suffered the pangs of conscience. It was that they had done something morally wrong. They returned the horse, and what happened after that? They returned the horse to the rightful owner. Let me tell you, if we take anybody's things without their permission, it is a sort of stealing only. Until and unless we return, but till we have taken without permission, it is a sort of stealing. So, I will just start with the summary of the story. This chapter is by William Saroyan. The story is about the two boys. They belong to the same tribe, and the tribe was famous for trust and honesty. Aram was a 9-year-old boy, and Murad was bit elder, 11 years old near about. The world was like a delightful, mysterious dream for him. His cousin Murad was considered crazy by everybody except him. He respected he respected and valued Murad's friendship. Aram respected the friendship of Murad. Now the story, if you go through the chapter, the first page, the story starts with the time is 4 o'clock in the morning. Murad taps the house of Aram, saying that if he wished to ride, he should come out of the bed and they would have a pleasure ride. This is how the story starts. So Murad tapped on the window of the narrator's room. The narrator jumped out of the bed and looked out. He couldn't believe what he saw. His cousin was sitting on a beautiful white horse. The narrator rubbed his eyes in disbelief. Murad asked him to be quick if he wanted to ride. The narrator passionately longed to ride, but they were poor. They couldn't buy a horse. Their whole tribe was poverty stricken. All members of the Garolanian family were poor. They were living in the most amazing and comical poverty in the world, but they were famous for their honesty. For the last 11 centuries, they had never compromised with their honesty. They were rather proud of their honesty. It was certain that Murad couldn't have bought the horse if he couldn't have bought it. He must have stolen it. The narrator refused to believe that Murad had stolen it. No member of the Garolanian family could be a thief. Murad had come to invite the narrator to ride. The narrator convinced himself stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing anything else. After all, Murad was crazy about horses. He was not going to sell the horse, hence it was not stealing. Every family has a crazy streak in it somewhere. Uncle Khosrow was the true inheritor of that crazy streak. He was a big man with black hair and large mustache. He was very furious in temper. He was irritable and impatient. He silenced others by roaring. His pet words were, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." Murad was considered to be the natural descendant of Uncle Khosrow. Both of them, they started riding, they sang, and Murad asked the narrator, that is Aram, to get down, and because he wanted to ride alone, and the narrator asked if Murad would let him ride alone. Murad replied that he could if the horse let him. The piled the narrator got down. His cousin Murad kicked his heel into the horse and shouted, "Wazere, run!" The horse burst into a fury of speed that pleased the narrator. Murad faced the horse across the field and returned 5 minutes later. Now the story takes a turn. The narrator realized that Murad had been taking those early morning rides for quite a long time, and he had come for him that morning. He knew that Aram also longed to ride. Murad took the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard. Then they walked home. Thus they could hide the horse. Murad had quite a deep understanding of the horses. Horses understood him, and he had a way with them. Now that story takes a turn. So far we have studied that how Murad, both of them had a pleasure ride, and they returned back the horse in the evening to the vineyard. And now the story will take a turn when the uncle comes to know about the stolen horse. The white horse was stolen. Uncle Khosrow, he comes to know that a farmer had lost his horse. So the next part, how the farmer complained about his lost horse, and what was John Byros, who was the uncle of Murad and Aram, what was his reaction? So we will discuss in the next video. Thank you, children. I hope you will go through this video. It will benefit you. And if you have any problem, you can always ask the question. Thank you.